This is Rachel Lyman, has a Bachelor of Science in Social Work and a Master of Science in Community Counseling with an emphasis in gerontology. Did I say that right? Gerontology. From California State University, Sacramento. At Spiritual Life Center from 2007 to 2011, Rachel was the champion of the interfaith ministry. From 2015 to 2016, she was the co-director of the Interfaith Connection Program. Rachel also has a passion for photography, always appreciating the beautiful images she is gifted to capture. She believes that photography has been her pathway to revealing her divine nature. Her soul talk is called My Soul's Awakening Through Photography. Please welcome to SAC Soul Talks, Rachel Lyman.
Thank you so much. Wow, is that me? And I'm trying to be respectful of time, so I'm going to start my stopwatch. There we go. Well, I want to thank RJ and JG also for inviting me here today. Last year, at the end of the year, I had this inkling in my mind that I needed to come out of the closet this year. And that means I'm not that kind of closet, but anyway, which is okay. I'm happily married, but anyway. So I have two grown daughters, beautiful daughters. One lives in Washington, one lives in Wilton, below Elk Grove. And so I want to really dedicate this to them because hopefully I'll say something today that will inspire them to also walk into their greatness. And I've heard that all through the talks today, so I feel like, gosh, I'm right on track. This is cool. So I want to tell you about what it feels like when I'm doing a photo shoot. Dave and I have done a lot, and my two previous husbands were also photographers, so amazing. When I have a camera around my neck and we're just going out in nature, or maybe we'll go someplace to a little town somewhere and we're just putzing around. It's a meditative walk for me. It's not technical. I'm horrible at technology. I haven't even read the manual for the camera I've used the last 10 years. So anyway, it's an artistic and a spiritual experience for me. If many of you are artists here in various ways, and writing, all kinds of mediums, and you know that when you're doing your art, you lose track of time. You go into another dimension, but you're totally focused in the present moment. And what I feel when I'm doing my photography, and RJ says, well, talk about your bliss. Well, that word hasn't come up in my life very much, but I'm thinking that everything I'm going to say today, it really, truly is. I'm very blissful when I'm doing photography and the result of things that have happened because of that. So I allow spirit to lead me somewhere. It's like a treasure hunt. Like, oh, you got to find the treasure. It's somewhere. But I don't think. I get out of my head, and I'm into my heart. I'm into my spiritual nature. And so I will see things that people walk by and never see. And for me, that's one gift of seeing. Another gift that Spirit has given me is a gift of composition. I can look at an image, a sight, and put it together very quickly and in such a way that it's an interesting image for you to look at later. So I don't have to think about the law of thirds and all that, if people know what that is. So I really feel that the photography hobby that is more than a hobby to me, has helped me to find my true nature, my divinity. So a while back, and I'm sure maybe I stole this from someone else, but I coined the word a spiritual ecosystem. And an ecosystem in biology terms is just a term that describes how everything from the first amoeba all the way up to us and beyond, it's all interconnected. It's like a huge, you can call it a food chain, but it's more divine than that. It's more elegant, it's more intricately connected and complicated, and only the divine spirit could ever create such connections. So when I was invited to talk, I went, how am I going to put my photography and my soul journey together? So I look at it as a circle, okay? Here's Rachel's spiritual ecosystem. And at the very top is spirit for me. So spirit awakened my soul by, my first husband gave me a camera. He loved photography. I learned how to do that. My second husband also, my third husband. And I lived in New Hampshire 16 years for my first marriage. And one of the things that happened to me there too is that a hot air balloon flew over my house, not fell on it, thank goodness, but flew over my house one day. And how that's connected to photography is very, very much connected, because that's another thing I actually got involved in later, and through my photography. So when I returned to California, I was in New Hampshire for 16 years, returned to California, and looking for work in social work, and didn't find anything at the moment, so I went back to what I'd been doing all along, is administrative work in an office, of support for, I worked for the president of a small college in New Hampshire. And I got a job at Sac State in the physics and astronomy department as what they used to call the department secretary. But actually, you're more than that. You're wearing a billion hats. You're the project manager. You keep the physicists in line, all that. So I was there for a long time. So anyway, getting off my segue here. So there, Spirit said, okay, here's your photography. And I started talking about it and bringing a few photos in, and I was still involved in it. And I met, through the hot air ballooning, I showed a slideshow at Sac State. And I thought, my husband and I went to the 1997 Reno balloon races. How many of you have ever done that? Oh my gosh. It's like a kaleidoscope of color. For a photographer, I was still shooting 35 millimeter color slides at the time. And so it was an amazing experience for me. And what came out of that, I took the slideshow to work. I set it to music. There's nothing digital in those days, cassette, click, click, click. And I showed it to over 50 faculty and staff in one of the science labs. And I met a hot air balloon pilot who worked upstairs. I had never met him before. Started crewing, and for the next 6 years, I crewed for 2 hot air balloon teams. I was a crew chief, and I took a student pilot license out and was learning how to fly these beautiful balloons. And I'm segueing to that only because my photography is still very much connected to that. So one of the women I met when I was at Sac State was a wonderful photographer in her own right. She went to the coffee house in the student union, talked to the manager there, and did her own photo show of photos from all over the world. And she came to me and she says, Rachel, how'd you like to do your own photo show? And I went, oh, sure. And I went home that night and I said, what have I said yes to? And it's Spirit again tapping me on the shoulder, nudging me. And so I did it. I had to borrow back photographs from friends and family because I wasn't doing anything, product at that time. And I got some very wonderful results back. But what I found from that show, by the way, is called Creative Remembrances. There's a poster on the table back there in my display with the name Rachel Brault, Brault. That was my second marriage name. So what it came out of that was I realized that photographs or images also connect people. And when you saw a photograph that I took and you loved it as much as I did, I knew it was more than just, I like that photo. It was a soul connection. It was a heart connection. And so I didn't even think about that at the time. I'm really a very slow learner, folks, you know, so. But this is my year to maybe share that it's okay to be a slow learner as long as you finally learn, right? So over the next 20 years, the Spirit said to me, you have a gift, you need to share it. And so I started showing my photos on galleries and art shows and Faith in Action artists. This is one of my photos I took for a Faith in Action artist, a Silomar. A lot of you have that image, a smaller image in your house. But so many people go, I have to have that. It has nothing to do with me. Spirit led me to that particular spot, 6 o'clock in the morning. Dave and I just bought brand new cameras, handheld. The cameras are wonderful for stabilization. And there it is. And it spoke to not only me, but to so many others. So I'm finally realizing that there's something there. There's something there. And that's my purpose, to do that. So I have some photo books on display in the back showing some of the other images I love, abstract reflections, and all that. Then in 2012, a local artist, Maurice Calcaterra, who was a member of SLC, said to me, Rachel, you take great photos. Listen, I know you can paint them. I went, paint them? So I started painting acrylic paintings of my photos, and I have one on display in the back to show you that. That's the Spirit leading me further and further. Dave and I just got back from a cruise, and on the cruise I could take watercolor classes. Never watercolored in my life. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. I select some of my photos and I paint from them, and it's such a joy for me. But then the paintings also are a joy for whoever is drawn to them. So what I like to do, and I may go over a little bit, is I'd like to take you on a trip. So I want you all to settle down in your seats, close your eyes, and take some deep breaths and just kind of center and really focus. Just quiet yourself down. We're going to go on a ride. It is pre-dawn. You are on a hot air balloon launch field on a ridge overlooking a small lake in the Sierras. 3 balloons launch at a time. Several have already launched ahead of yours. Now it's time for you to climb into the wicker basket to prepare for an early morning flight, a splash and dash, where your pilot will launch, land gently on the water, and float across the lake before ascending. Although it's August, the air feels frigid on your face, so you snuggle deeper inside your warm jacket and pull your hat down over your ears. This morning, you stuffed 2 disposable cameras into your jacket pocket. A heavy, thick fog hovers over the lake, but the sun is still sleeping. Your balloon launches gently off the ridge and lands softly on the water. You begin to float on the surface. The sun starts rising, but the fog on the lake isn't intimidated and continues to surround you like a warm blanket. All of the balloons entering the lake disappear, one by one, into the misty abyss. People on shore lose sight of you. The scene is surreal. The absence of light turns the once deep blue water to copper. The once brightly colored balloon envelopes all are now sepia tones and drab grays. As you float, you sit on the edge of the basket to keep your feet from getting wet. Others, sitting on the edge of their baskets, are seen only as faceless black shadows. Silence and stillness pervade, and only muffled voices can be heard in the distance. You have entered a silent flotilla, a thin place. But you feel no fear, only a sense of peace comes over you. You feel spirit all around you, touching your soul. You start taking photos with the 2 disposable cameras you brought with you. All time is lost. And much later, the sun starts to burn its way through the fog, and you see the arc of a rainbow surrounding the balloon envelope ahead of you. In awe, you raise your camera to capture another amazing image, but there is no more film. Later, you ascend, and as you land on shore, tears of joy stream down your face, for you know you have just had a spiritual experience like no other, only to be remembered through images captured. So if you just take another breath and then open your eyes. So what you've just experienced is what I experienced, and I forget the year, it doesn't matter. Prosser Reservoir outside of Truckee. I was learning to fly, and that morning I opted not to work the burner. I was pretty tired. And it was just another moment in time when Spirit tapped me on the shoulder and nudged me. And some of the photos on the table are those from those disposable cameras, which have 800 film in them, which are just love low light, and that's what it was. It was all foggy. So for me, it was another awakening for me, and I've had so many awakenings in showing my art and photos. And what I've realized is that Spirit has given me this gift to share. Like you've heard that message so many times today. So I invite you when you go home today to think about what your spiritual ecosystem looks like, how Spirit has connected you from this person to that person, this experience to another, and brought you to where you are here today. We're all so highly, we're a lot, our conscious level is a lot higher than a lot of people's. So you can feel it. We're all family in that. So it's a God-given gift, and whatever gifts you have, stay tuned to those. Pay attention. You never know when God's going to tap you on the shoulder in the fog in a hot air balloon basket. So, namaste. Thank you.